Hi, I served time in prison and lost touch with my girlfriend. It's been over 10 years since we last saw each other. Would it be wrong to contact her again? I'm 35, and when I was in college, I fell in love with Sarah, who is now 33. She was my best friend's younger sister, so she was off limits to me. But my feelings didn't fade, they only grew stronger. She is one of those beautiful, intelligent people who live and breathe to make the world a better place. How could I not fall in love? One day, she told me she had feelings for me too. To my relief, her brother had no objection to us dating. Sarah was my girlfriend for 2 whole years. 2 wonderful years. I should have proposed to her. I don't know why I didn't. I guess I thought we had our whole lives ahead of us. We were young, there was no rush. We lived in a country that, to put it mildly, was not very democratic. We were involved in political activism. As a result, I was arrested and sentenced to 9 years in prison. Please don't think I'm some kind of monster because of that. I don't want to go into details so that no one can figure out who I am, but we didn't hurt anyone or do anything immoral. What I was imprisoned for is not a crime at all in the country where I now live. I haven't seen or spoken to Sarah since the day of my arrest. My best friend died soon after, and Sarah left the country, partly because she could have been arrested too. It was impossible to contact me while I was in prison, although, as far as I know, she contacted my father a couple of times at the very beginning. Things only got worse in the country while I was in prison, so when I was released, my father and I emigrated. We have been living in Western Europe ever since, and life is generally good. I live with my father and have a stable, albeit shitty job. A few months ago, I found Sarah on the internet. She lives in a neighboring country, a 7-hour train ride away. She's not very active on social media, but it seems she has no partner or children. And even if she is married, it would be enough for me to just become her friend again, like in the early years of our acquaintance. Part of me desperately wants to write to her, and my father also thinks I should try, but I'm afraid it would be too selfish. The death of her brother was a huge trauma for her, and I'm afraid I've become a living reminder of all the bad things that happened to us. And if she has a partner, won't she be offended by my contact? Won't I ruin their relationship? I don't want to her any more pain. Time stood still for me while I was in prison, but I understand that for her, as for everyone else, life goes on. She succeeded, she built a new life, and I don't want to destroy it just because I feel entitled to a place in it. Maybe she doesn't even remember me anymore, and even if she wants me back in her life, now I would only be a burden to her with my broken psyche. We haven't seen each other in twice as long as we knew each other. Do I even have the right to miss her so much? For now, all I can do is Google her name from time to time and make sure she's okay. It hurts terribly, and I don't know how to make it stop. I still love her with all my heart, and probably always will. Should I write to her, or is it better to leave her alone? And if I do write, what should I say? So, before we find out what happened next, I suggest you write your opinion in the comments on what the author should do next. Personally, I think that, yes, of course, it's worth trying to write to her, to meet her, because maybe this Sarah is really waiting for it herself. The author believes that he may have become a living reminder of her deceased brother, but I think that they have been through a lot together and that this connects them in some way. So, yes, I definitely think it's worth trying. Now let's move on to the update. Update number 1. I contacted her and she replied, "First of all, I want to thank everyone who gave advice or simply wrote kind words. I was ashamed of my situation for so long and expected most people to react very negatively if they found out. I hardly talked to anyone about it except my father and those whose job it is to help me, such as lawyers, psychotherapists, and so on. I was very surprised to receive so much sympathy from complete strangers. Thank you, really." Several people asked me to tell them how it went, and that's the least I can do in return. I wrote to Sarah on the evening of the same day I published my post. I wrote something like this: "I don't want to intrude on your life. I just wanted to say hi and leave you my new contact information. Maybe someday you'll want to get in touch. If not, that's totally fine too." I gave her my cell phone number and email address, wished her well, and that was it. I understood that she might not respond right away, or might not respond at all, so I tried to put it out of my mind. Early the next morning, my phone rang. It was an unknown number from the country where Sarah now lives. Who else could be calling me from there? I panicked a little, but managed to answer. She asked several times if it was really me, and I couldn't tell if she was laughing or crying. At first, she called me by a very affectionate version of my name, like she used to, but then she quickly apologized and corrected herself, which broke my heart a little. The conversation was awkward, but not in a bad way. I was terribly nervous, and it seemed she was too, but at the same time, we were both happy. Some of you wrote that Sarah would want to know if I was okay, and that turned out to be even more true than I expected. Because during the last year of my sentence, the unrest in our country had intensified, and she was afraid that they would just quietly get rid of me instead of releasing me. There were documented cases where other prisoners in my situation experienced very suspicious things a few months before their release, so her fear was not entirely unfounded. She also said that she had repeatedly tried to send me parcels with things and top up my account at the prison kiosk, but her attempts were rejected without explanation. After my sentence, I was completely banned from receiving letters and using the kiosk because of the article under which I was convicted, and she stopped trying. She told me about it apologetically, as if I might be offended that she hadn't done more for me. I had no idea she had tried, but I know it was unsafe for her, and I feel terrible that she put herself at risk just to make my life a little easier. She didn't seem to want to talk about the past anymore, so we didn't. We moved on to lighter topics: work, the cities we live in, how my father is adapting to his new country, and so on. When she arrived at work and needed to end the call, she asked if I wanted to continue the conversation on Messenger. Of course, I agreed and immediately installed the app. We texted each other all day, and on her way home, she even stopped to send me a photo of a restaurant, decorated in the style of one of my favorite books, just because she thought I would like it. She said that every time she sees this building, she thinks of me, although the restaurant itself, alas, turned out to be not very good. I was afraid she wouldn't remember me, but she remembers that I love to read. She remembers a lot of things, even things I've forgotten myself. Since then, we've been texting each other constantly and talking on the phone in the evenings after my work, until she starts to get sleepy. Sometimes it feels like I'm 24 and she's texting me from the next street over and is about to ask what's for dinner. And sometimes it feels like we're trying to resurrect some previous versions of ourselves so we don't have to admit that things haven't been the same for a long time. She has become noticeably quieter and more reserved than before, which I suppose is not surprising. Sometimes I myself am afraid that I have changed too much and that she will no longer have anything to love about me. I cannot put into words how I feel when I hear her laugh. She hasn't lost her kindness, warmth, or compassion. She still cares, and so do I. I understand that it won't be easy to rebuild our friendship after everything that's happened. But I am patient, and I am just glad that I have a chance to get to know her again. This morning, Sarah asked if I wanted to video chat over the weekend. I agreed. I'm ashamed to admit it, but even though I really want to see her, I'm very nervous. I've changed a lot, both physically and in general. I have problems with my jaw and teeth like a hockey player. Fortunately, I will soon have insurance and will be able to get it all fixed. I lost a lot of weight and still haven't gained it back, and when I look in the mirror, I see an old man. I'm also afraid that I won't be able to control my emotions when I see her and embarrass myself. I'm not the type of person who cries in front of others, and I don't think this is the right time to start. Besides, I don't want to look pathetic, and I don't want her to feel obligated to comfort me. If anyone has any advice on how to deal with this, I would be grateful to hear it. Overall, this week couldn't have gone better, and I am incredibly grateful to everyone who gave me that kick I needed to decide to write to her. Thank you 1,000 times. And yes, she has no husband or children. As I wrote in my first post, I decided to contact her only because I couldn't find any signs on social media that she had a partner. Many people asked me to write a follow-up. These 2 months flew by very quickly. I told Sarah that I was nervous about the video call, and she insisted that we do it right away so that I would stop worrying and just get it over with. She still looks the same as I remember her, maybe even more beautiful. The only thing that has changed is that she is now an adult. The place where she now lives is very different from our homeland, with a completely different culture into which she seems to have blended seamlessly. The very fact that she managed to get used to it and feel at home destroyed my illusion that no time had passed. And when I think about it, that was probably the reason why I was so worried, because I could no longer deceive myself and pretend that nothing had changed. The hardest thing was sitting in front of the screen and not being able to hug her. It's very hard to watch the person you love cry from a distance. I didn't even realize right away that I was crying too. She didn't seem surprised by how I looked now, but she looked at me closely and asked why I was eating so little. I explained about my jaw and that I was going to have it treated. It turned out to be less work than I thought, but I would still need surgery. In response, she asked for my address and arranged for a delivery of food with a bunch of soft snacks that are easy to eat. Since then, she has been sending me food every week, despite my pleas that she shouldn't do so. When I tried to give her the money back, she just laughed and said she owed me a lot of food, because when we were in college, I saved her from starvation. I enjoyed cooking for her back then, and I guess she enjoys feeding me now. We talk every day, and video calls have become a habit. Just seeing her face is a huge joy, and the awkwardness is almost gone. She's easy to talk to. Last night, she put her laptop in the kitchen and chatted with me while washing the dishes. It's amazing how such ordinary things can bring back a sense of normality and home. I would never have thought that seeing someone washing mugs could make me so happy. I'm starting to think that the idea of home as a physical place is a misconception. She likes to send photos to show where she lives and what her life looks like now. And I was ashamed to admit that I don't really have a life to show in return. Going somewhere didn't seem worth the effort, but for her sake it was. At first it was just little things. She sent me a photo of a cake she bought at a cafe and wrote that the pastries in her city were tastier than in mine. In response, I went out, bought a cake too, and sent her a photo. Then it started with beer, whose city had better parks, interesting architecture, department stores, and so on. I quickly realized that she just wanted to get me out of the house and make me walk more. But I played along because it made her happy. Over the past month, I've seen more of my city than I have in all the time I've lived here. I went to the art museum and even joined my colleagues for a beer for the first time. I usually choose quiet places and don't stay long, but at least I go, and that's something. Sarah used to be very sociable, and I thought that no matter what happened, at least she wouldn't be lonely. I was wrong. There are many things she cannot tell her friends because they simply won't understand. They will feel sorry for her and stop treating her as an equal, she says. Our experiences are different, but we understand each other better than anyone else. And despite her own pain, she seemed to have quietly taken on half of mine. On March 8th, I sent her orchids, her favorite flowers. She was very happy that I remembered. The little things I could do to make her happy are so insignificant, and she deserves much more than I can give. But I would do anything for her, and I am learning. Where she lives now, there are protests, with police and tear gas. When this happens, she gets very nervous and doesn't sleep well. Now at least I can be with her on the phone at night so she's not alone. Besides anxiety, there is also nostalgia in all this. She remembers how we used to make noise in the streets ourselves. I'm glad she has good memories and now she doesn't have to be alone with them. And finally, the reason why I am writing now. Sarah is coming to visit me. Last night we were talking, and I mentioned that there is a church near my house with stained glass windows made by an artist she really likes. I was thinking of going there sometime. She said it wouldn't be fair if I went there without her. I suggested we go together, and somehow it suddenly turned from abstract plans into a specific date next Saturday. She was going to come for the day, but I said it was silly to travel so far for just a couple of hours and invited her to stay for the whole weekend. So she will be with me from Friday to Sunday. I haven't had time to worry yet, but I'm sure I'll start soon. Thanks again to everyone who gave advice and support. It means a lot to me. Well, I hope that everything works out wonderfully for the author and this girl, because as we can see, they are already practically together. Unfortunately, there were no more updates to this story, so we'll move on to the next one. I fell in love with my married neighbor, but then I spent some time with his children, and now I'm unsure of my feelings. I am 34, and 7 months ago I had a difficult breakup with a guy I had been in a long-term relationship with. After that, I moved in with my best friend and her husband. We rent a house together. That's when I met my neighbor, let's call him Ka. He helped us move our things, and I immediately fell for him. We live in the suburbs of a big city, and it so happened that we both take the same train to work every day. I found out right away that Ka has a wife and children. He often talked about them, had their photos on his phone screen, on social media, and so on. But at first, it was just a silly, innocent crush. He is handsome, cheerful, and kind. The first time we met on the train, he asked me about my job and really listened to what I had to say. My ex, for example, never did that, and we often argued about it. Ka is always doing something for his children, bringing them treats, talking to his daughter on the phone all the way to work because she needs support before her presentation at school. It's very easy to imagine how tender and attentive he would be in a relationship. He's like that with everyone. Ka has never said or done anything to hint that he has feelings for me, but we became real friends because we talk almost every day on the train for about 20 minutes. I've never had any trouble attracting men's attention, and with the foundation we already have, I'm sure we could easily become something more. Moreover, shortly after I began to develop feelings for him, I learned that his wife was a girl I used to study with. And I was surprised because they are complete opposites. He is cheerful, she is dry. He is adventurous, she is cautious. He's a little dumb, she's very smart. It may sound harsh, but damn. I just don't think they suit each other, either in character or appearance. And I can easily imagine that Ka is just stuck in this relationship because he is too kind. Now to the point. Last night, Ka knocked on our door and asked if I could sit with his children for a while. Of course, I agreed. It was no trouble for me. He said his wife had been in an accident while on a business trip, and since she is pregnant, he was very scared and bought the nearest ticket to go to her. They don't have any relatives in the state, so he asked me to watch the children for a few hours until an old friend of the family arrived. He would be driving for several hours to stay with them overnight. And that's when everything went wrong. These children are a nightmare. 3 girls. The oldest is a typical spoiled brat, only multiplied by 1,000. She is rude and doesn't take me seriously at all. She argued about literally everything. What to have for dinner, who should clean up, what movies she could watch. I even heard her whisper a couple of times that I was a bitch. The middle one was hyperactive and always wanted to play noisy, messy games, even when I said I didn't want to. The youngest was generally sweet and quiet, but always got involved in all the crap the middle one got up to. It ended with me agreeing to play hide and seek with the 2 youngest, and they ended up locking themselves in the house without me. I walked around the house trying to convince the oldest to let me in through the back door, but she just pretended not to hear me and put on her headphones. Fortunately, a few minutes later, that same family friend arrived, opened the door, and I went home. I was sad because before that I had often fantasized about one day becoming a stepmother to Ka's children. He spoke so warmly about them, and now I don't want anything to do with them at all. But at the same time, it's like further proof that things aren't going well between him and his wife because children from a normal, happy family don't behave like that. I just want to be with Ka, but I'm not sure if that's possible if we have no contact with his children at all. And that's even before a possible divorce because his wife could easily turn them against me. I really love Ka, and I'm sure we could have an amazing relationship if I went for it, but right now everything inside me is shaky. I wish I had someone to talk to about this, but everyone in my life would judge me. Comments. Honestly, it doesn't seem like you love him. You're just idealizing him and building some kind of fairy tale life in your head. You have this fantasy in your head that he will leave his wife and run away with you. You justify this by saying that his children are ill-mannered, which means that things are bad at home. At the same time, you completely ignore the fact that his wife is pregnant and he has given up everything to be with her in her time of need. You complain that the children don't respect you, but apparently they barely know you, and suddenly you want to be the boss. You are not their mother and never will be. Do you think that if you get your way, you will have a beautiful story? No, you won't. He has a family that he obviously loves. Just because he is polite and kind to you does not mean he is in love with you. Talk to a therapist because this is not healthy. Author. How do you know whether I love him or not? Are you inside my head? You can love someone even before you start a relationship. Yes, I don't know if he loves me, but you don't know for sure that he doesn't love me either. It will only become clear once we cross that line. I don't think he'll just take off with me. It would take months, maybe even years. Divorce, custody, all that stuff. And yes, before you start commenting, I understand that there's no guarantee that he'll ever leave his wife. But Ka is a good person, an honest person. If something happened between us, he would definitely leave his marriage because it would be the right thing to do for everyone. He himself said that fairness is the most important thing to him. That's why I'm asking. I understand that things could get very complicated if something happened. I just want to understand whether the fact that his children are so difficult would make the situation worse. I want to understand whether the possible advantages would outweigh the disadvantages. Update, transcript of the screenshot. Okay. Girls, it's okay. Thank you for sitting with them. Author, of course, feel free to contact me anytime. Let me know if there's anything else I can do to help. Kai, thumbs up. Kai, link to the post. Kai, did you write this? Kai, if so, we need to talk. Honestly, I have absolutely no desire to leave my family for you. I'm sorry if I gave you false hope, but I see you as nothing more than a neighbor. I don't think we should talk anymore. Author. Wait, can I call you? Well, that's it. There were no more updates, as we can see from the screenshot. The author was too presumptuous in thinking that Ka loved her. But alas or not, as many realized even before the update, these were just illusions. I think many of us have experienced this in one way or another. Write and tell me if you have. Have you fantasized about someone loving you? And how often? I won't hide the fact that yes, of course, I have done so myself. Obviously, in most cases, these people did not love me. But yes, I fantasized about how we would be together and what our perfect life would be like. And once I even had a major disappointment when I was still very young and foolish. A girl was dating a guy and I knew she was dating a guy. But nevertheless, my friend convinced me that it wasn't a problem and that the guy wouldn't budge and all that. Anyway, I wrote a song for this girl, dedicated it to her, sent it to her, and she didn't respond. Which, frankly, is not surprising at all. After all, they probably had a good relationship, and she didn't see me as a boyfriend at all. Anyway, it was an extremely naive and embarrassing thing to do. Obviously, it's better to get to know the person better first, establish that you're a couple, and only then start fantasizing about something. But dreams like these, with your head in the clouds, are a completely unproductive exercise. Unless you're writing lyrics, maybe, and oddly enough, I was writing lyrics. Maybe it wasn't so bad? Interesting. Anyway, thank you for watching this video to the end. Write your thoughts about all this in the comments. I personally will be very interested to read it. Watch our previous video, which you can find here. Be sure to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and good luck.